So we've talked about compound interest as our enemy when we're paying other people money, but it's also to our advantage. Imagine that you had saved $100,000 by age 30 and you never saved another penny. You take that $100,000 and you invest it. And let's assume a 7.2% rate of return. Now, I'll be honest, that's really optimistic. It's going to be hard. It's hard to make that much money each on average on your investments, but we'll assume a 7.2% rate of return. And the reason we use that is because of the law of 72, which says what? If I am earning a 7.2% interest, my money doubles every 10 years. So again, imagine that 30-year-old with $100,000 invested. Without investing another penny, it grows like this, such that when you try to retire at age 70, that $100,000 has turned into $1.6 million. Obviously, we're not so lucky as to necessarily have $100,000 saved by the time we're 30, and typically we continue to save throughout our life for retirement. But you can see just how much of a difference it makes to start young. I graduated from college just a little before my 22nd birthday. Uh, had no college debt, was paying on a car that I bought, but the rates were, or the amount was something I was able to afford. And I saved quite a bit of money because I didn't marry until I was 27. And I'm just one of those people for whom good financial habits, it's kind of was given to me genetically. I was just blessed like that. And so I actually saved a lot of money before I got married. And my savings rate went way down after I got married. But you know what? That money has been in the market. I started investing in the stock market in 1985. And so I now have, what was that, 35 years of my money being in the stock market, and it's grown. This will show you just how much it can grow. So the key is to spend less than you earn and save the difference and then start it off in investing. I'm not going to dive into the particulars of all this. I'll tell you, if I'd have been a really extraordinarily good investor, I'd probably be retired by now. Not an extraordinarily good investor. I'm just good at putting money aside every month. There is one thing, though, that just is unbelievable to me. Today, most retirement plans are not a defined pension plan. In other words, most people's retirement plan is you put in some money, the company matches it up to a certain amount, and then you invest it and you build your retirement nest egg. What is shocking to me is what percentage of the people don't put in enough money to maximize the match of their employer. So a lot of employers, if they have a program like this, will match up to about 6% of your salary, and people won't put in that maximum 6%. So the company will put in only as much as you do, up to 6%, and people are putting in less than 6%. So literally they're leaving money on the table. Don't be that guy. You take all of the money your employer is willing to match by you putting that much money into it. There's some great closing slides from a variety of financial sources. And when it says how rich people think, don't be offended by that. That is how what the book is called, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I would say this is how people with good financial habits think versus people versus bad financial habits think. People with good financial habits invest for the long term. They invest in assets that are going to grow. Other people invest in liabilities. They spend it, and at the end of it, they don't have anything to show for it. They buy new cars a lot. They buy boats. They don't invest in assets that grow over time. The idea that once upon a time in the future, I will invest, people who think like that never have any money to invest because they're always spending what they have. Step one is spend less than you have. Some great books. Dave Ramsey is famous for this. This is another good book to read. These are just some good closing principles to live by. Use a budget, spend less than you earn. Make sure you are finding ways to set aside that money. Let me tell you my personal trick. I over withhold in my income tax. I want a big return every year. Now, because my wife and I make a lot of money, we pay a lot in taxes. I make sure that I kick aside a lot more money each month than I need to cover my taxes. And I'll even tell you what the amount is. My goal every year for a tax return is I'm looking for a $12,000 tax return. I try to save $1,000 a month by over withholding. And that's in addition to what I also try to save personally during the month. Start saving when you're young. I already showed you how that works. 10% is a good figure, and an emergency fund is a big deal because when you need it bad, you get it bad. So don't put yourself in a situation where you need it bad. Compound interest, some great quotes here. I'll let you read them. I love this last one. Time is your friend, impulse is your enemy. The people with the worst financial habits that I know, they have one thing in common. They are impulse buyers. And then I'll let you close with this about millionaires. What's interesting is a lot of millionaires don't have necessarily a high income and they did not inherit their wealth. It grew slowly over time through good financial habits. And it's sometimes surprising the people who achieve $1 million are very surprising to the people around them because they never would imagine that they have the money. And that's why they have the money, because they don't live like they're millionaires. A very important lesson, do good on the quiz, because if you do good on the quiz, you're going to know some really important lessons for life.